running backs will win you your fantasy football leagues in 2024. What's going on, football fans and fantasy freaks? It's Mitch here, back with another NFL video, and in this video, my must-draft fantasy running backs of the upcoming 2024 NFL season. These are the running backs that will allow you to crush your league mates this season. Now, my main goal here is to allow you to set up a strategy that is versatile and adaptable. I'm giving you 9 names at the running back position, from the early rounds to the late sleepers, gems and studs, to help you win your leagues in 2024 and allow you to draft that stud early wide receiver, tight end, or even deviate to quarterback if you like. This is the intention, allowing you to have targets throughout the draft that you can rely on. And these are all running backs that I trust to put up big seasons in 2024. So if that sounds good, don't forget to Gronk spike the like button and subscribe for more fantasy football content here on OwnersBox Fantasy. Let's kick it off with my first must-draft running back, the stud of all studs, the hero RB of 2024. I'm talking about Bjan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons. Bjan Robinson enters this Falcon season as a sophomore, right? A second-year pro. He was an absolute phenomenal prospect coming out of Texas. And in year one, he looked good. He looked the part. He was highly efficient as a pass catcher and a runner of the ball. He showcased that he is a rare talent. But what did he not showcase? The Falcons didn't want to give him the ball as much as they will give him the ball this year. That was the problem. Arthur Smith was the problem. Bye, Arthur Smith. See you later. Bjan is now working in a Sean McVay-like system under Zach Robinson. And why is that crucial information to understand? Do you remember Todd Gurley? Do you remember when Sean McVay had an absolute stud running back? Do you remember Kiron Williams last year? When Sean McVay has had stud running backs, he gives them the ball and he does not remove them from the field. Bjan was drafted in the top 10 for a reason. This guy can do everything under the sun on a football field. He can run the ball in between the tackles, outside. He can catch the football. He can run routes. He can pass block. He can do it all. Now, under Zach Robinson, he will be featured like a Todd Gurley, who once upon a time was an RB1 in fantasy, was an offensive player of the year. Bjan could be that in 2024 with an excellent offensive line, especially in terms of run blocking in front of him, and a quarterback that is coming off a major injury in Kirk Cousins, who does kind of stabilize the offense a bit compared to Desmond Ridder, but he is coming off an injury, which means even more work in the running game for Bjan. Why? Because when you're coming off an Achilles, you need that protection around you. You're a little nervous throwing the ball. So running the ball, setting up play action where there's extra linemen, extra tight ends in the block, that is how the offense is going to be ran. Run the ball, play action, run the ball, play action, and a lot of throws out of the backfield because Cousins isn't running anywhere, so he's got to check it down to Bjan Robinson. I could see him having 2,000 total yards this year, well over 10 touchdowns, offensive player of the year-like status. So when it comes to the first round, and if you're looking for a hero RB to start your draft, Bjan Robinson around 4th overall, 5th overall, 6th overall, in that range, right after the top 3 of Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, and Tyreek Hill, I'd be taking Bjan Robinson because I think he can finish as the MVP of fantasy football. And there's just not that many players that you can find in the first round, period, in your entire draft that have the ceiling of Bjan Robinson in 2024. So draft Bjan. You will not have to worry about your RB1. My second must-draft running back for the 2024 NFL season is Kiron Williams of the Los Angeles Rams. Do you see a trend already? The Los Angeles Rams are a trend, right? Sean McVay is a trend. The offense, the system, the scheme is a trend. Why? Because when Sean McVay loves a player, he spams the living life out of that player. Don't worry about Blake Corum. Don't worry about him. He's not a problem. Only when Kiron Williams goes down will he actually become a featured role player in this offense. And hopefully, Kiron doesn't go down. Now, he did miss a few games last year, which gives you just a hint of worry for 2024. But outside of that, you think about leading the NFL in rushing yards per game in 2023. You think about second in fantasy points per game under only Christian McCaffrey, and this guy's going in the late second a lot of the time. On Underdog, he's going in the third round. You can get that type of player that is well-rounded in his skill set, great vision, great at breaking tackles, a monster in the red zone, can catch the football, can pass block. He's not coming off the field. This is a top 5 offense in the league. And when Stafford and Williams were on the field together last year, they were the second best offense in the league, only behind the 49ers. This guy is going, I think, too late, honestly. When I miss out on a running back in the first round, I'm trying to go to Kiron Williams all day long in the second or the third. That's my pick. If you miss out on Bjan, Breece Hall, Christian McCaffrey in the first round, just come back to Williams and you'll secure yourself an RB1 without a doubt for this season. My third must-draft running back, going 35th overall right now, ADP-wise on Fantasy Pros, that is James Cook. James Cook of the Buffalo Bills is my third must-draft running back. James Cook, last season, once they changed offensive coordinators to Joe Brady, the new offensive coordinator for the Bills full-time in 2024, he had 7 games, 507 yards rushing, 20 receptions for 223 more yards. That's over 100 yards per game total, by the way. 4 total touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. The only area where James Cook has to improve is touchdowns. And that is somewhat a fluky stat. Now, Josh Allen obviously is going to score his touchdowns, throwing the ball, running the ball, but you would expect James Cook to have more than 2 rushing touchdowns as the running back on one of the best rushing offenses in the league. And Brady is going to want to call more runs this year with Allen and Cook because they don't have Stephon Diggs anymore. They're going to be a multi-tight end featured offense with Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, and they don't really have that true number 1 receiver. So who is their alpha weapon? It's James Cook. It's James Cook. I think Dalton Kincaid will get the targets in the passing game, but I think James Cook is going to eat on the ground and through the air. 50 catches plus at least. I think that's his floor. He was an excellent pass catcher out of Georgia. He showed that ceiling last year of actually putting up a very high number for yards per reception last season, despite being a running back. He can actually run routes down the field, kind of wide receiver, almost Christian McCaffrey-like. That's what gives him an incredible upside to finish as a top 5 running back in fantasy this year, because he's attached to an excellent quarterback. He has a pretty good offensive line. They're going to want to run the ball. He has very little competition in Buffalo. And the only thing he really has to do is score a couple more touchdowns. And that's really it. When you look at the end of the season with Joe Brady, 4th in receiving yards per game, 6th in rushing yards per game. That's phenomenal. Plus, he finished the season 2nd in 10-plus yard rushes with 35. This is an excellent, explosive running back attached to one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Draft James Cook. The 4th must-draft running back of 2024, James Conner. I just flat out don't think people realize how awesome James Conner was in 2023. James Conner was 4th in rushing yards per game. James Conner was 13th in fantasy points per game last year, and he was RB7 with his starting quarterback, Kyler Murray. He was an RB1 comfortably. He was a top half RB1 in 2023. He's being drafted in the mid rounds, like at best. After the bye week, James Conner, week 15 to week 18 was the RB2 in fantasy football. And if he was on your teams in the playoffs, you probably won the championship with James Conner. He got better as the season went on in 2023. And I think he's going to take what he did at the end of 2023 and carry that over to 2024. They love this guy in Arizona. He is their guy. He is their workhorse bell cow running back. And he is a well-rounded back. He was as explosive as he's ever been in his career. He's a good pass catcher. He has excellent hands. We already know that, even dating back to his Steeler days. He's an excellent red zone running back. And attached to Kyler Murray, he has a very underrated running scheme at his disposal. Like, this running scheme in Arizona was absolutely shredding teams at the end of last year. And with the threat of Kyler Murray always to run as the road runner, this guy just eats up yards in highly efficient carries. 5 yards a carry last year, easily, right? This is a guy that I just feel like every time I'm a little uncomfortable with my running back situation, I can always fall back on James Conner because I know he's going to get a heavy workload in the games that he's playing. He's going to be somebody that's going to be out there on all 3 downs. And he has the potential in this offense with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride and underrated offensive line. They signed Jonah Williams on the offensive line that they are going to have to score points. So he is going to be somebody that puts up massive weeks, multi-touchdown weeks, because they don't have a defense, period, in Arizona. So whether it's catching the football, running the football, I just love James Conner in any format. I think he is an absolute steal right now at the value. So he is a must-draft running back for 2024. The next must-draft running back for 2024 is RAAndre Stevenson. Mondre of the New England Patriots. RAAndre Stevenson, the first thing you have to talk about is that the team is committed to Stevenson as their bell cow back. They extended him to a 4-year contract worth $36 million. They have changed their system and their scheme under Van Pelt, who comes from Cleveland, to a heavy outside zone system. That is a system that RAAndre Stevenson thrives in. That is his favorite system. This is a quote from RAAndre Stevenson: outside zones. That's what I like, and that's what we're running. RAAndre Stevenson is ready to get back to 2022 form, where he finished as an RB1, a top 10 running back in 2022. And now people are fading him in 2024 after a disappointing 2023. But let me tell you, the offense can't be any worse than last year. It really can't. I'm a Patriots fan. It's pretty impossible for the Patriots offense to be any worse than last season. And I think people are not looking close enough at RAAndre Stevenson and the work rate that this guy is going to see in 2024, because he had 88 targets in 2022. He had 77 prior to injury in 2023, meaning he is a 3-down, do-it-all running back. And yes, Antonio Gibson added to the fold, adds a bit of a pass catcher to the mix, but I actually see them as interchangeable pieces where Gibson can complement Stevenson, and he can be somewhat of a backup, like a true backup to RAAndre Stevenson, given their carryover in their abilities. They're home run hitting backs that can catch the football and play on all 3 downs. But given the contract, and given that Gerard Mayo wants to be a run-heavy team, this comes from his mouth, not mine, RAAndre Stevenson is going to be a bell cow. Then you talk about, okay, how did he actually play last year? He was actually playing really well prior to getting injured. From week 6 to week 12, he was the RB10 last season. That's a substantial size. They started off really rough in New England on offense from weeks 1 to week 5. And then from week 6 to week 12, Stevenson was hitting that pace from 2022. Then he gets injured against the Chargers in week 13. Ezekiel Elliott takes over, and Zeke finished as the RB7 from week 13 to week 18 in Stevenson's role. So that means that I feel Stevenson is being undervalued, because if he stayed healthy for the rest of the year, he probably would have finished as a borderline RB1 and would be going way higher in drafts. So don't sleep on Stevenson in 2024. There should be a small bounce back for the Patriots offense this year, given the improvement at play caller and receiver and quarterback. So Stevenson is a must draft running back for 2024. The next mid-round must-draft running back is Najee Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel like Najee Harris was so overrated when he came into the NFL that he has now become undervalued and underrated in fantasy circles. Najee Harris, he's just a consistent force. He stays on the field. He's always available. He plays in all situations, short yardage, third down, catches the football, runs the football. He's not the most dynamic, explosive back in the league, but he is a big back that allows him to carry the load for the Steeler offense. And this is going to be one of the most run-heavy offenses in the NFL in 2024. Why? They were already run-heavy last year, but now you add Arthur Smith to the mix, and you're going to run the ball even more. And I understand what I said about Bjan Robinson earlier, but this is a different vibe. First of all, they already kind of split carries in Pittsburgh. So it's not like we know that Najee is going to lose all this work. No, it's Najee, it's Jaylen Warren. If anything, Najee might be slept on because Arthur Smith typically likes the bigger backs. Tyler Algier in Atlanta, right? And then, of course, Derrick Henry in Tennessee. So Najee is the bigger back. He is going to be the bell cow. Jaylen Warren is more of the change of pace. He's the running back everyone's excited about because he is electrifying, don't get me wrong. But Najee is consistent. And when you look at his numbers last year, after the bye week, he was the RB10 in PPR fantasy football. He was the RB10, guys. They added to the offensive line. They got a first-round pick at tackle. They added a mid-round pick at the center position. They have one of the best guard duos in the NFL, period. This is a good offensive line, the best of Najee's career. This is probably the best quarterback play that Najee has had since Ben retired, really, right? So you look at just the mix of things, best play caller in a while, because Matt Canada was terrible, best offensive line in a while, best quarterback situation in a while, and you have Russell Wilson, you have Justin Fields. Neither quarterback's going to be throwing the ball 30 plus times a game. That's not what they want from those quarterbacks. They want to run the ball a ton. They want to feature their running backs in their game plans, as Arthur Smith has done with guys like Algier, Bijan, Derrick Henry, Cordell Patterson. He's done it with everybody, right? The running back is essential to the offense. So Najee is being heavily slept on because he does it all for Pittsburgh. And in this run-heavy offense, he's going to see just weekly touches that many other running backs are not going to be able to replicate. So where he's going in drafts, I feel very comfortable drafting Najee. The first late round must draft running back of 2024 is Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. Chase Brown could be the breakout running back of this season. I believe that he will, by the end of the year, and maybe even halfway, maybe even the start of the year, I don't know. I think he's going to be the starting running back for the Bengals for a majority of the season. Let's just put it that way. He's going 119th according to Fantasy Pros right now. That is absolutely crazy, considering he is attached to Joe Burrow and Joe Burrow's offense with the best offensive line that Joe Burrow and the Bengals have ever had in this era. Trent Brown is a monster, not only in pass protection, but also in the run game. They've got good, solid depth on the offensive line. And Brown is an excellent pass catcher. He can run really nice routes. And he's also, in his rookie season, he showed that he could be explosive with the ball. 11.1 yards per reception last season. He didn't play a ton, but he showed flashes of explosion. He's one of the fastest running backs in football, and he kind of gives me Phillip Lindsay-like vibes. Now, you might be wondering, is he big enough to be the starting running back for the Bengals? Well, it's not like Zach Moss is any bigger. They're both the same height, and actually Chase Brown weighs more than Zach Moss. And Moss is kind of like an illusion when it comes to the size that he showcases, right? I believe Chase Brown, when it comes to an offense that's going to be passing a lot, that has Jamar Chase, that has T. Higgins, that has a million receivers. They added Mike Gesicki at tight end. They've got excellent pass blocking tackles. They've got Joe Burrow making all this money. When it comes to this offense being a spread and shred throwing offense, Chase Brown's going to be out there a majority of the snaps because he's an excellent dual threat running back. So it only makes sense that he is going to be a breakout in 2024. Chase Brown, he's electric. Trust me, draft him. If you're going 0 RB, he should be one of your favorite targets in 2024. The next 0 RB late round target is Rico Dowdle of the Dallas Cowboys. I believe that Rico will become the starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys in 2024. Move aside Ezekiel Elliott, and while I did feel like Zeke played pretty well for my Patriots last year, filling in for RAAndre Stevenson, we brought up his stats a little bit earlier. Apparently, he looks absolutely dreadful in training camp, and he can barely make it through some drills. I'm just leaning into the younger, explosive, quicker, more electrifying running back in Rico Dowdle, and it makes me believe that because Zeke no longer has that attachment to Dallas like he did previously to hold back Tony Pollard, like they just brought him back to have somebody that they're familiar with and they know how he plays and things, but they already let him go once upon a time. So it's not like they're not willing to let another guy get the work, right? So Rico Dowdle, to me, in terms of stats last year, it's not going to overwhelm you. He was the backup. He was the new Tony Pollard for Tony Pollard, who almost looked a little bit washed like Ezekiel Elliott. But this is a guy that, again, you're looking at the competition, like Royce Freeman, Ezekiel Elliott. When you watch Dowdle, he's quicker, he's faster, he's more explosive. He adds an element in the passing game. He actually is taking carries in the red zone in training camp. He's doing a lot of different things, and apparently Mike McCarthy is raving about him at camp. He said to the media that Rico Dowdle is having a hell of a camp. I think this guy is going to probably even by week 1 be that like surprise running back that's getting 20 touches in the first week. Remember Kiron Williams last year where everyone was kind of like there's buzz about him, but nobody really knew 100% that he was going to be the guy? And then Rico Dowdle, I think that's going to be the guy this year where nobody's drafting Dallas running backs. Why? Like super late, man. 151st overall right now. That's probably going to go up. But this was the second best offense, I believe, last year. Like they were scoring points. They might not be that good this year, but probably still around the top 10. That's definitely worth a late shot. If not, maybe even jumping a round or two just to secure this guy, especially if you're desperate at the running back position. This could be a massive breakout for the Dallas Cowboys in 2024. Now, my bonus pick for a must-draft running back in 2024 is Tyrone Tracy Jr., the rookie running back out of Purdue that was drafted by the Giants. He is going 196th right now, according to Fantasy Pros. And the reason I like him is first the competition. Devin Singletary, yes, was signed and he's familiar with Brian Daboll's offense, but Devin Singletary is not Saquon Barkley. He is definitely replaceable and he's somebody that will have to share snaps with another running back. Tracy is already getting reports that he is RB2 in camp, and that's pretty quick for a rookie running back that was drafted as late as he was drafted. I think he was drafted in the 5th round. But then you look a little bit further into Tyrone Tracy and you watch him play. He's explosive. He was a former wide receiver, so he's kind of a late convert to the running back position. He has an excellent skill set for all 3 downs, considering he can run really good routes because he was a former receiver. He was 1st in yards after contact in this draft class. He was 3rd in broken tackles per touch, and he was 6th in yards per attempt, meaning he's explosive and efficient with his carries. He'll add an element of explosiveness and a change of pace early for Singletary. Then if Singletary maybe gets hurt at some point, or maybe Tracy just does the most with his work, he could really see elevation to the starting running back role. I wouldn't be shocked if he was the starter by the end of the year. You might not want to draft him unless you're in a deeper format, but this is somebody to really keep an eye on in the preseason and somebody definitely to keep your tabs on throughout the early portion of the season. He might be worth a stash early in the year if you're in a competitive league, but I really like his skill set and he seems to have the 3-down skill set that you really look for in fantasy. So that's what you're trying to find in the late rounds in fantasy football. Those are my must-draft running backs of 2024, my 9 must-draft running backs. Let me know yours in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to tune in to the rest of my must-draft series, wide receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends, coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace, guys.